Next verse is asking us to practice the way of the sublime people. The practices are the best policy. It is through them that the world is pleased. Neither here nor in the future is one cheated by a world that has been pleased. So, the practices means, actually it says the Dharma. Dharma here means the practices for achieving higher state. So these practices for achieving higher state is the sublime practice even for the kings. Because it is through these sublime practices that you can control the world and you can also please the worldly beings. And if the worldly beings are pleased, then it will not deceive you and also not deceive others. So therefore this is a sublime practice. And the next verse is asking you not to rely on bad scriptures, bad treatises. If you are a serious practitioner, then it's also encouraged not to read, meaningless books, like books on war, sex, cheating, stealing. There are so many books. When it comes to the scriptures, there are 9 kinds of scriptures explained in the ancient text. One is called meaningless text. It may be entertaining, but really not much meaning. They make meaningless text. Meaningless text means in ancient times it is said there is a text written by somebody which examines whether the crow has a teeth or not. Crow has teeth or not. There's no limit to craziness. So many people write up so many things. So that is meaningless text. Then wrong scripture. Wrong scripture means scriptures which explains about how to marry with your mother. Such wrong scriptures prevailed even in ancient times. Third is meaningful teaching, which is the teaching of the Buddha. Then next batch is Tutu means texts which are primarily for listening, not for practice, only for listening. Then second is texts which are only for argument, for debating. And the next is teachings for practice. That's the Buddhist teaching. Then there can be one category of scriptures which is composed out of manipulative cunningness, deceitfulness, and another set of scriptures which is totally devoid of any love and compassion. And then the last teaching is called teaching which is targeted to removing sufferings of sentient beings, which is the Buddhist teaching. So out of these 9 kind of scriptures, 3 are to be adopted, 6 are to be discarded. That's what's said in the text. So here also says that do not rely on wrong scriptures, wrong composition, wrong texts. The world is displeased by the policies of non-practice. By the policies of non-practice, due to the displeasure of the world, one is not pleased here or in the non-practice. I don't agree with many of these translations anyhow. But the text basically is saying, because this is addressed to the king, he is telling the king, do not rely on bad systems and teachings which advocate violence, so irreligious practices. Because if you follow such scriptures or texts, then this will bring unhappiness in the mind of the people, and because of their displeasure, there will be lack of happiness in this life and in the future lives. Therefore, such bad systems should be avoided. So whatever be the case, like in my own case, I'm not so fond of reading fictional books. I used to read some fictional books, like the book by Graham Jones or something, a very famous novel. I used to read some of these. Then in Hindi I used to read some novels also. I used to read one of the famous Hindi writer, what was his name? The one who was born in Lucknow. Yeah, his name I don't know yet. Rinchen, yes, I used to read. I read several of his novels, you know. So these days I have no time and also don't read. I mean, you can learn few things there also, but if you are, totally focused in doing spiritual practice, then you have no time to waste for many unnecessary things. And also in today's world, I mean, books are just countless. Some of them are written by intelligent people. They are really good, really good. I read many of those books even today, you know. But you should be a little bit selective, not to waste your time. Yeah. If you read, somebody says that if you read a book and you did not get anything in the first chapter, the second chapter, still if you read, that means you are stupid. You're not going to get anything. So there's no need to read a book from cover to cover, you know. Right? So, reading such scriptures are discouraged because if you look at this verse 130, how could those with senseless, divine minds on the path to bad transmigration, rest intent on deceiving others, have understood what is meaningful? So that means if you follow those bad systems which does not fulfill the wishes of the practitioner, and then this is really going into the path of the negative existence, and so you will end up just deceiving others, and the result will be countless set of negative experiences. Your mind will also get corrupted. This is called corruption of wisdom. You may be a highly intelligent person. If you read wrong book, then your wisdom will be corrupted. So if you lead such life, then how can you fulfill the purposes of others? It will only end up harming others. So don't read such books. That's what he's saying. How could those intent on deceiving others be persons of Dharma, persons of system or policy? Through it, they themselves will be cheated in many thousands of births. If you follow that bad system, and so that system of the king, that manner of ruling the kingdom, who follow such bad system, it's only cheating oneself, not only in this life but for many lives to come. So such a system is definitely not a good system. And if you follow such a system, then this will destroy you for many thousands of years. And the next question is, then what are the good religious system? Even if you seek to harm an enemy, you should remove your own defects and cultivate good qualities. Through that you will help yourself and the enemy will be displaced. So I like this verse, this kind of verses very much. So it's saying that even if there is a need for you to harm your enemy, the way to harm your enemy is that you yourself make sure that you are without any defect, any fault. And as much as possible cultivate positive qualities. With such way of life, such action, it will benefit you. And because of this good way of life, and the enemy will also not become very unhappy, right? So this is the thing. This is something. There is another verse by Nagarjuna, another text, which I really quote repeatedly and tell my Tibetan friends and Tibetan youths when it comes to opposing the Chinese wrongdoing. There is a verse which says, if you want to overpower the enemy, you should address your qualities, your education. Harmful intention will do no good. It will only harm you and not the enemy. See, this is really, really good teaching. Like, it's the ordinary way, you say all the nasty things against the enemy, you raise slogans, do marches, things like that. But then after that, nothing, you don't pay attention to preserving your language, you don't pay attention to preserving your culture, don't try to get good modern education. How can you fight the enemy? So that's why if you want to really overpower the enemy, you should upgrade yourself, raise yourself with knowledge and education. What is use of harmful intention? Because that harmful intention will harm you, not others. For example, here, now you are all listening to me. I hope you have some sympathy to the Tibetan situation. So taking advantage of this, I say all the nasty things to the Chinese leaders and bang the table, and you also join me and get very angry. We are suffering here. We are harming ourselves. The Chinese leaders have no idea. They may be enjoying a nice cup of tea, watching a movie. That does not harm an enemy. And His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, although the situation in Tibet is very difficult, but then nowadays, of course, not many Tibetans are coming. His Holiness also not as active as before. But even when he was younger, and many Tibetans were coming from Tibet, they come and see His Holiness with lots of tears and, sharing all their sufferings, problems. Then His Holiness says, in all those difficult situations, I just pay my attention, do whatever I can do, I do it, then I forget. Whatever I can do, I do it, then I go to bed and have a very peaceful sleep. And this harms the enemy. They start thinking, how come this man, with so much problem, he looks very happy. His Holiness did not do anything to harm them, but they get harmed. And he says, I go to hospital, doctors check my blood, it's like baby's blood pressure, So because of that, they make stories, the Dalai Lama is dying from cancer, now he's in the hospital. When he's healthy, when he's really sick, they say, Dalai Lama is okay, he's not sick. So the real fighting is not in the battlefield. The real, defensive or offensive, at least much in advance you should prepare in terms of your daily life. It's a daily thing, right? Then training in the 4 ways of collecting the students, 4 ways of attracting the students. You should cause the assembling of the religious and the worldly through giving, speaking pleasantly, purposeful behavior and concordant behavior. So that means you should cause the assembling of the religious and the worldly. That means if you want to attract people, attract followers, gather or attract people, then you should do these four ways of collecting disciples. One is first giving, not Dharma teaching. You should not just stop, really help, go out and help them, whatever it is. Then they will become very close to you. And when they come very close to you, then speaking pleasantly means not singing a song, but giving teaching, which is the most sweet, pleasant thing. Show them what to do, what not to do, help them, not only material things, but process of thinking, teach them. And purposeful behavior means then you should tell them, okay, now I taught you what to do, what not to do, you should live in accordance with what I taught. You should lead purposeful behavior. Now having said that, you should yourself lead a concordant behavior. Means behavior similar to what you have been asking the student to do. Otherwise the student will say, or students will say, well, this is what my teacher said, look, he said, don't eat meat, see, he's enjoying momo. Right, so nobody will listen to you. So this is ways of attracting people. You know. So the first one is giving means, out of the 6 perfections, giving. You know, giving, as I told you, when it comes to giving, you should know what to give, what not to give, when to give, how to give. You should know all this. If it is beneficial, you can even give poison. If it's not beneficial, don't even give medicine. Okay. Then training in truthful speech, truthful speaking, and so on. First he speaks about what is truthful speech, speaking truthfully. Just as by themselves the true words of kings generate firm trust, so their false words are the best means to create distrust. If you only speak truth, even if you have, now he's talking to the king. To the king he's saying that if you just speak only truth all the time, I mean that does not make you completely free from all other kind of faults. You may have other faults. So this is also a very interesting way of saying. If you do one thing properly, you may have many other faults, but this, having done this one thing properly, you will get a lot of respect and many people get benefit. Just by speaking truthfully, or you the king who may have many other faults, but because of this total, truth in one speech, people will trust you in this life, and this is also the best way, so that people don't trust people who speak falsely. So their false words are the best means to create distrust. The English translation is, for me, my English is not good, maybe because of that, but this is not easy to understand. So their false words are the best means to create distrust. That means in the first 2 lines it's saying, if you speak just the truth, then this will generate firm truth. And this will also help, this is also the best means not to believe false words which is spoken by others. So that's what he's saying. What is not deceitful is the truth. Then he's saying, what do you mean by truthful speech? What is not deceitful is the truth. It is not an intentional fabrication. What is solely helpful to others is the truth. The opposite is falsehood, since it does not help. Very clear. Next is giving. Just as simple splendid charity conceals the faults of kings, so, how do you pronounce this? Avarice? Avarice. So avarice destroys all the wealth. This is similar to what we discussed earlier. Even if you do one practice, that is practice of giving properly, just as a single splendid charity conceals the faults of kings. The king may have many faults, but this will conceal it. So avarice destroys all their wealth. Instead, and he's saying, you are a king. You have the means to help others. So get rid of this avarice, miserliness, stinginess, right? Right at the time. And then gradually you will not be able to hold this post forever, Then you will not get an opportunity to give. So when you have something to give, when you have the opportunity to give it, right? next is talking about peace, total peace. In peace there is profundity. From profundity the highest respect arises. From respect comes influence and comment. Therefore observe peace. So peace here means give up, agitation, excitement, letting your senses out of control. Don't do this. You restrain your senses. But it is by restraining your senses there will be total peace. So that is, as I said, I don't agree very well with the English translation. So what he's saying is, on the one hand, he's saying, restrain your senses. That will give you total peace. So restraining senses is not enough. Second thing you need to do is that your thought should also be profound, so that people will not be able to figure out what thought is really going on in the mind of the king. And because of this way of thinking and restraint on the senses, people will naturally respect you. And then you will become a majestic king. And then whatever you say will be followed by others. So therefore, maintain peace. Maintain peace. At the time of the Buddha, the king Bibhisara, whenever he had a problem in the kingdom, he used to go to see Buddha. And he always, feels that when I am at the foot of the Buddha, it's really like sitting at the foot of a big shady tree which just gives peace, and all my troubles and problems vanishes. Some years back I met one businessman from Mumbai. He also told me whenever he has problem with his business, he goes a little bit out and spends some time at the foot of a tree, big tree. He gets a lot of peace. So that's one reason many of these great teachers, they spend their life out in the nature at the foot, of a tree. The Buddha was born under a tree, meditated and achieved enlightenment under a tree, and he passed away under a tree. This way how closely he lived with the nature. And he left his beautiful kingdom. To the ordinary parlance, he is stupid, He has everything at his disposal. So he left all this behind and goes into solitude. Right? And these days some people even ask, I appreciate much of the Buddha's teachings, but we don't appreciate Buddha leaving his wife and son. He did not leave his wife and son like that, He went out so that he find true source of peace for all sentient beings, including his wife and son. Right? His wife, Yashodhara, said to be a very kind lady, social worker. And Buddha always admired and respected. Yashodhara is so kind, such a kind lady, such a good social worker. But he at the same time expressed his concern. Your social work is so good, very good, but this will not take you to enlightenment in nirvana. Mind you, this thing, just doing good is good, but if you really want to get out of samsara, then just doing a little bit of good here and there will not lead to that unless you remove the internal afflictive emotions. So, in short, if you have one good practice like giving, you will become very famous. The king is so liberal, He have this man, that man, he built this house, then all other your faults will be not observed by others. Likewise, if you are stingy, have avarice, with this one fault, people may not observe many of your other good qualities. That's what this line is saying. Just as a simple splendid charity conceals the faults of kings, so avarice destroys all their wealth. Wealth here means wealth of qualities. Then we read this next one also. In peace, I read this one also. Then from the next one is, okay, from the, I was digressing from here. In peace there is profundity. Peace means peace of restraining the senses. Profundity is the depth of the mind. From a deep contemplative mind and with having restrained the senses, naturally respect will come. From respect, then naturally you are able to influence others and control and command others. Therefore, observe peace. Right? In order to preach peace, first you should be at peace. In the case of family members also, if the parents are in peace, the child will follow that. If the parents are like fighting, then teach children to be at peace. It's impossible. Next is asking you to train in good wisdom. From wisdom, one has a mind unshakable, non-reliance on others, firmness, and is not deceived. Therefore, O King, be intent on wisdom. So if you have that wisdom by which you are able to know what is to adopt and what is to give up, from wisdom one has a mind unshakable, meaning that if you have that wisdom by which you are able to judge by yourself what is to be adopted, what is to be given up, then other people will not be able to shake your mind. Right? That's important, because normally we don't have that wisdom, capacity to think. Therefore we normally follow others. If they say this is right, then you start thinking this is right. If they say this is wrong, you start thinking this is wrong. You don't have your own capacity to judge. So therefore he is saying that you need to have this wisdom. From wisdom one has a mind unshakable by others. And then non-reliance on others means you don't have to follow others without any reason, Therefore your mind will be firmness, and is not deceived. Meaning you will not be deceived by bad people, by their way of life. O King, be intent on wisdom. The next is a summary teaching. A lot of humanity having the four goodness, truth, generosity, peace and wisdom is practiced by God's humans, as are the four good practices themselves. So truthfulness, giving, total peace and wisdom, as we discussed. These four good practices, if these four good practices they are with the king, then both the humans and divines will praise you. Therefore make sure that you possess these four qualities. That's what he's saying. And then next is encouraging us to associate with good friends. Good friends, in whose reliance you are able to multiply your positive deeds. It's very important. Because we are very, very ordinary people. If you associate with the wrong people, you will pick up those bad habits. If you associate with good people, you will pick up those good habits. So how can you judge who is who? So he's now going to explain the special qualities of friend.
Like someone who practices the four good practices. Like
Now we're reading that in the next verse. The next verse says that the friend, good friend, which will help you develop your dharma practices, possesses 4 features. Wisdom and practice, your wisdom and practice will always grow for one who keeps his friend or company with those who speak advisedly. Is there an English word like advisedly? Advisedly? Yeah, advisedly. Who are pure and who have unstinted wisdom and unstinted compassion. Four qualities. Speak advisedly means that your friend should be such. I mean, in the case of the king and also in your case, your friend should be such that he should not just be sitting with you and flattering you, telling lies just to please you. He should be someone who really says the right thing to help the king or the friend, number one. Then second is, who are poor, who are pure. Who are pure means people who have less desire and have contentment, therefore their mind being pure. I mean, in association with the king, if you have a friend who is greedy, then your having access to the king means you can adopt all kind of ways and means to get money. So therefore your friend should be somebody who has less desire and have contentment, thereby the mind is pure. And then who have unstinted wisdom. Unstinted wisdom is somebody who has that wisdom and skill in dealing with both the religious practices and also the worldly, dealings. And then unstinted compassion means he should not be somebody who easily gets excited and get angry, short-tempered, and he should be somebody who really wants to help others, and thus his mind is adorned with compassion. Right? So actually this word unstinted is applied to all the 4. So again, this translation is really not easy. You need to spend. W. Hawkins has actually done, I think, a second translation. I never compared these two. This is all translation, I think. He done a second translation with the Tibetan root text also. I have that text, I did not check it. So actually, according to this Tibetan text, this word unstinted should be applied to all the 4 qualities. And then he is saying that it is worthy to follow such a friend. Rare are helpful speakers, listeners are very rare, but rare still are those who act at once on words that, though unpleasant, are beneficial. I mean, this is not only with the king, but in our daily life also. You won't find many people who really, from the depth of the heart, tell you something to benefit you. And then, even more rare than this is that nobody listens these days. Right? If somebody really says something really beneficial, I mean, if I tell one of my young friends, don't drink Coca-Cola, then they will not listen. So what he's really saying is, even if the word used is very unpleasant, if it is beneficial, you should listen to it. Because these days you won't find many people who will say something that's beneficial to you. And then listening to that beneficial word is even more rare. And even more rare than that is those people who knows that this word is unpleasant but it is beneficial, therefore I follow it. That's even more rare. Therefore, having realized that though unpleasant, it is helpful, act on it quickly, practice it. Just as to cure an illness, one drinks dreadful medicine from one who cares. So meaning that if it is beneficial, even if it is a little bit bitter, unpleasant, you should listen to it. Just like when part of your body is injured, then you need to undergo some surgery, and that surgery is not pleasant, but to protect your body, you need to undergo that surgery. And then he's saying, as we started, you should meditate on impermanence every day. That's what he's saying in the next line. Always considering impermanence of life, health and dominion. You thereby will make intense effort solely at the practice. So this is very important for all of us. But for the king, he's saying that, okay, you are king now, people respect you, you have the whole kingdom, lot of facilities, but you should realize that things are impermanent. So whether you have many enemies that will destroy your life, that will destroy your health, and even otherwise some other enemies. So you should realize that you are impermanent, your kingdom is impermanent. You should always think about that and repeatedly remember, recollect impermanence, death, and that will inspire you to make effort. And you should indeed make effort solely on Dharma practice. That's what he's saying. The next is how to give up, abandon the causes for negative existence. Seeing that death is certain and that having died you suffer from ill deeds, you should not commit ill deeds, though there might be temporary pleasure. So death is definite. Death is definite. Time of death is indefinite, unfortunately. We are in today's modern world, we are very good in making appointments, but death will not secure appointment. Which day you want to go? Never say. Right? So without doubt you will die, and after death, if you have committed negative deeds, then if you are born in Tibet and roads of Vietnam, and roads in Vietnam, so after the death, because of your negative deeds, you will be born into negative state of existence. Even if you have certain facilities to enjoy like a pet dog. Like a pet dog. The cause for the birth of that, the projecting cause we call it. The projecting cause for that life of a dog is negative karma. So therefore you are born as a dog. But the completing karma may be a positive karma. Because of that you are born as a pet dog. And you have enough food and nice place to stay, things like that. So therefore, do not commit negative deeds, even if temporarily it looks good. Okay? Though there might be temporary, there might be, it does not say there might be, but the text actually says, even though it looks pleasant. So by this you should also understand that when you do spiritual practice, temporarily there may be some uneasiness, unpleasantness, but this will benefit you in the long run, therefore do spiritual practice. Sometimes no horror is seen, and sometimes it is. if there is comfort in one, why do you have no fear for the others? Meaning that by doing certain activities, you will develop fear in this life. No, by doing certain activities, you may not see fear in this life, and you might see possible fear in the future lives. And because of fear to the one, if you trust that one, then why don't you fear the others? Meaning that even if you fear, that might be possible in the future life, and you develop some kind of trust, and if you are able to see fear, then why don't you develop fear? If you develop some kind of fear, even in the cases where you don't see the fear, like for example, I may be born in a hell realm, you develop some fear which you don't see right now. There's a possibility. If that is the case, then why don't you fear the fear that you experience in this very life? Then a more elaborate explanation. Next is do not engage in intoxicant drinks. Intoxicants lead to worldly scorn, number one. Okay. If you engage in a lot of drinking, people will look down upon you. Intoxicants lead to worldly scorn. Your affairs are ruined. No need to explain this. Your affairs are ruined. You are not able to go to work in time. Wealth is wasted. No need to explain. The unsuitable is done from delusion. No need to explain. Right? Therefore, always give up intoxicants. Then next is gambling. Gambling causes avarice, unpleasantness, hatred, deception, cheating, wildness, lying, senseless talk, and harsh speech. Therefore, always avoid gambling. Right? When you engage in gambling, there are 9 faults. He's counting 9 faults. One is you do gambling because of attachment to other people's wealth, number one. And avarice, so that is avarice. Then unpleasantness. Unpleasantness means when you are gambling, you are not sure whether you will win or not win. So there is unpleasantness. And the hatred will be there, deceitfulness will be there, right? The deception, cheating, then telling lie. Okay. Next, removing attachment to women. Now, both in this text and also Shantidhamma's Bodhicharya, little bit in Nagarjuna's letter to the friend also, there are several verses highlighting the faults of women. So don't get scared. Okay? Okay. Because these teachings are primarily given to monks in those days. Number one. And then number 2, you will find our line which says, the same faults are there in you also. Okay, now listen. I'll highlight all your faults. There is a teacher, in Tibet there was a teacher. When this teacher was requested to give a teaching, the teacher used to say, what, you want a teaching from me? I have nothing to teach except highlighting your faults. So if you are prepared to listen, then sit. I mean, this is amazing, right? Nobody really wants to listen to their faults, especially in a big crowd, Everybody just will hide their fault. Right? But this is not speaking about one particular individual, so it should be okay. All right. So the first is in order to reduce that attachment to women, first is that you should not think that the women body is clean. Okay? Lust for a woman mostly comes from thinking that her body is clean. But there is nothing clean in a woman's body, in fact. Similar to men. Okay, similar to men. Do I have to explain this? No need to explain this. Why not clean? The mouth is vessel of false saliva and scum between the teeth. The nose a vessel of snot, slime and mucus. The eyes are vessels of tears and other excretions. Same, men also similar. Right? The abdomen and the chest is a vessel of feces, urine, lungs, liver and so forth. Those who through obscuration do not see a woman this way lust for a body. Because people don't see this, therefore they develop attachment. If you see this, there will be less attachment. Just as some fools desire an ornamented pot filled with what is unclean, so ignorant, obscure, worldly beings desire women. I mean, they're similar, not only women, but, as I mentioned earlier, appearance and reality. Appearance is deceptive in every field. Things look nice, beautiful, but when the reality is different. But this is not to say women are bad or men are bad, anything like that. But this is really understanding the reality so that you are able to reduce and remove unnecessary attachment, because attachment brings a lot of problem. Okay? If the world is greatly attached even to this ever so smelly body, unclean body, which is true, otherwise why should we have to wash our body again and again? Right? Which should cause loss of attachment, how can it be led to freedom from desire? Just as pigs are greatly attached to a site of excrement, urine and vomit, so some lustful ones desire a site of excrement, urine and vomit. The city of a body with protruding holes from which impurities emerge is called an object of pleasure by beings who are stupid. Once you yourself, no, this one is, so this is the worst. Now he's talking to the kings, having highlighted the faults of women, he says, once you yourself have seen the impurities of excrement, urine and so forth, how could you have been attracted to a body compound of those? Why should you lust desirously for this while recognizing it as an unclean from produced by a seed whose essence is impure, a mixture of blood and semen? One who lies on this impure mass covered by skin and moistened with those fluids merely lies on top of a woman's bladder. If whether beautiful or ugly, whether old or young, all female bodies are unclean. From what attributes does your lust arise? Just as it is not fit to desire filth, although it has a good color, its very flesh and has a nice shape, so is it with a woman's body. How could the nature of this putrid corpse, a rotten mass covered outside by skin, not be seen when it looks so very horrible? The skin is not foul, it is like a garment, like a hide or a mass of impurities. How could it be clean? A pot, though beautiful outside, is reviled when filled with impurities. Why is the body filled with impurities and foul by nature, not reviled? If you revile against impurities, why not against this body, which befalls clean sense? It's not, the body itself is not only not clean, but when you touch something, that whatever you touch also becomes unclean, which befalls clean sense, garlands, food and drink. Just as one's own or others' impurities are reviled, why not revile against one's own and others' unclean bodies? Since your own body is unclean as a woman's, it is not suitable to part from desire for self-pleasure. So this is another line saying that since your own body is unclean as a woman, similar. If you yourself wash this body, dripping from the 9 wounds and still do not think it is clear. What use is religious instruction for you? Whoever composed, then he says that because of this stupidness, people even write beautiful poetries praising the women's body and things like that. Whosoever composes poetry with metaphors elevating this body, oh how shameless, oh how stupid, oh how embarrassing before wise beings. So they say, oh, these women really so beautiful, like a moon, things like that. It's the same stupidity. Moreover, these sentient beings, obscured by the darkness of ignorance, quarrel. Not only they quarrel over what they desire, like dogs for the sake of some dirty thing. There is pleasure when a sword is scratched, but to be without sword is more pleasurable still. Just so there are pleasures in worldly desires, but to be without desire is more pleasurable still. If you analyze thus, even though you do not achieve freedom from desire, because your desire has lessened, you will not last forever. To hunt game is horrible, cause of short life, fear, suffering, and hell.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, please.
It seems to me that these descriptions of the body,
Yeah.
except for ex-feces, which clearly carries disease,
Yeah.
it seems to be that there's nothing inherently filthy about or impure about the liver, or blood, or mucus. So I don't understand how these descriptions of the body are not...
I don't know, there may have some differences. I don't know, there may be some differences in the culture, but otherwise, if you see blood, or you see milk, which one you would feel more?
What year did Nagarjuna put these together? What year?
400 years after Buddha.
So more than 2,000 years.
Yeah. Now are you saying that now we are much cleaner, are you saying?
So they didn't understand about biology so much, which might
I don't know. For me still this is relevant.
It's what?
For me still these descriptions are true, for me, even today. Like for example the mucus, you say mucus dirty, what comes from your mouth?
Right.
Saliva clean? I don't know. Many people, this is what is saying. People who are stupid, they think saliva coming from women is...
I thought he was asking about, these are body functions to purify your body. Like if you get a cold and you have mucus, it's to expel all.
Yeah.
You're asking about?
Well, what I was meaning
No,
was
that
something like a liver. A liver is mentioned in the text.
Purified,
I don't see
right.
how a liver could be inherently filthy.
No, he never says the word inherently. Here he's talking about conventionally, not inherently. I mean, what he's saying is, in some cases he said unclean, in other cases he did not say unclean. He said, what is there to develop so much lust attachment? Like, for example, what you will find is the liver, kidney, whatever. Is these objects worthy of lust and attachment? That is what he's saying. He's not saying unclean or clean. In general, he said, in some occasions he said unclean, but in other cases he didn't. I don't think he said unclean. Anyway, I'm not Nagarjuna. I'm going to read this for you and leave it to you to digest.
But Geshe, it was relevant to you, right? That's why we asked the question.
Yeah.
Because it was relevant to you.
Yeah, for me this is still correct. But you spend time, read slowly, Unfortunately, the question is, I can't answer all the questions. Unfortunately, even in the Tibetan text, there are really not many commentaries. Surprisingly. Very surprisingly. And this is the best commentary, but the commentary is not so detailed,
But this is just a prescription.
Yeah.
This is just advice to like a monastic community.
Yeah, but still, like for example, the questions he raised, something like that, why you call it unclean, you can explain it, things like that. But so far I saw only two commentaries. And one is a commentary by Indian scholar, which is so difficult to understand. I read it, and I nearly gave up. I mean, it's always explaining the one word here, another word here, not much explanation. But this one is by one of the foremost disciples of Tsongkhapa, Gyasabje. It's the best, And we are planning to combine these two, just the root text and publishing it very soon. But this one is like a research scholar's work, so there are so many things written up. Difficult.
For me, it's maybe easier if I try to relate this description of women and men in our times with the idea of emptiness.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe here is a kind of disintegrating all parts and showing the person, the beauty of a person is just a delusion. Because if we put everything in parts, each part in as such is not beautiful or not clean or attractive.
What I'm saying is, number one, seeing something beautiful is also mental projection. So from that point of view, we can say seeing something is also mental projection. There is nothing beautiful existing from its own side. That is the general solution that we have been discussing all along. That is one solution. Another is, even conventionally speaking, when you develop attachment to a body of a man or woman, so he's saying, is this body really worthy of so much attachment, so much attention? Which part of the body? That's what he's saying. Lungs, kidney, heart, nose. I know some people will say, oh, your nose is so beautiful, So develop attachment to the nose. There are people like that. Maybe because of that he's addressing all these things. Anyway, enough. Wonders if these kind of...
In context of that emptiness conversation that just happened, in true emptiness, there is no gender or different. I mean, there is no man or woman. So is this just in terms of lust in general and maybe not forward? Maybe because he's talking to the people saying...
No, conventionally there is man and woman, there is gender.
Even in emptiness?
From the purview of it. Even for a person who has realized emptiness, when he looks at you and me, he'll say, oh, you're a woman, he's a man, Gender is there. Gender, of course, is there. But if you think in terms of enlightenment, possibilities of enlightenment, then this gender issue is irrelevant. Because both the men and women have same capacity to become enlightened. That you can say. But otherwise, as I said, all these names, designations are simply to ensure that things don't get mixed up. Oh, this is cup, this is not women. So like that, this is man, this is woman. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. verse 169 is basically saying having attachment to women is source of pleasure. The pleasure that you get in association with the woman is similar to a pleasure that you get when a sword is scratched. It might get some temporary pleasure, but to be without sword is more pleasurable still. Just so there are pleasures in worldly desires, but to be without desires is more pleasurable still. And then next verse 170 is saying that the fruit of meditation is such impurities. If you analyze thus, even though you do not achieve freedom from desire immediately, but because your desire will be lessened, you will not last for women. Women is an example. It's one example going on right now. But even otherwise, by contemplating in this, impermanence, impurity, things like that, then your attachment to those things will decrease, right? And there will be more reliable happiness. Okay, next is so next is avoiding hunting. To hunt game is a horrible cause of short life, fear, suffering and hell. Therefore always steadfastly keep from killing. So not to hunt and kill animals, which is related to non-killing, because if you kill, then the result will be you will have short life and there will be fear in this life. This is again, some people just without much reason they get fear. This may be a result of past life, having harmed others or killed others. And then of course suffering, and then hell. Therefore always steadfastly keep from hunting and killing. And the next is asking you not to frighten other people. Those who frighten embodied beings when they encounter them are malevolent, like a snake spitting poison. Its body completely stands with impurity. So you should not act like a poison, emitting poison, saying negative things, harming others. Next is developing joy. Just as farmers are gladdened when a great rain cloud gathers, so those who gladden embodied beings when encountering them are beneficent. So the whole purpose of Buddhist practice is to make other people happy. That's what he's saying. Therefore, give up irreligious activities and practice Dharma, summary teaching. Thus observe the practices incessantly and abandon those counter to them if you and the world wish to attain unparalleled enlightenment. Now these two verses are very famous actually. Its roots are the altruistic aspiration to enlightenment, firm like the monarch of mountains, compassion reaching to all quarters, and wisdom not relying on duality. So these three are said to be the main root cause for enlightenment. Number one, bodhicitta. Altruistic aspiration means bodhicitta, the wish to become Buddha, which we should be really so that bodhicitta really should be like firm, like a Mount Meru. Then second is compassion, reaching all quarters. all-encompassing compassion. And then the third is wisdom not relying on duality. Wisdom that does not see things as having independent inherent existence. And then the next verses also I will just go through, because he's saying that if you lead such a life of Dharma practice, then you will become a Buddha. When you become a Buddha, you will have all these 32 major signs and the 80 minor signs. Okay, so I'll just go through it. There's not much to explain. So he's saying that you should practice the process that will give you the 32 major signs of a Buddha. O great king, listen to how your body will be adorned with the 32 signs of a great king. How these 32 signs achieved? Through proper honoring of stupas, honorable beings, superiors, and the elderly, you will become a universal monarch. Your glorious hands and feet marked with a design of wheels. O king, always maintain firmly what you have vowed about the practices. You will then become a bodhisattva with feet that are very level. So this actually describes the Buddha's physical features. Feet are level. Our feet are not level, right? Yeah.
We have flat feet.
Yeah. Through giving, speaking pleasantly, purposeful behavior and confident behavior, you will have hands with glorious fingers, joined by webs of light. Through abundant giving of the best food and drink, your glorious hands and feet will be soft. Your hands, feet, shoulder blades, and the nape of your neck will broaden, so your body will be large and those 7 areas broad. Through never doing harm and freeing the condemned, your body will be beautiful, straight and large, very tall, with the long fingers and broad backs of the heels. Through spreading the vowed practices, you will have glory, a good color. Your ankles will not be prominent. Your body hairs will stand upwards. See? Do you want to have your body hair stand upward?
He's the ugliest of descriptions.
Probably you don't have to go to a hair salon, so many things, So you don't have to do any of the makeup. Okay.
Geshe Lhakdor.
Yes.
But isn't it again luring us to these beautiful things, and it's kind of making us attached to this, that if I do this, then I might get beautiful and this internally. So this is also a desire and attachment.
Is that so?
If you really want flat food and your hair sticking up, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Buddha is not stupid. And he knows everybody really wants to be good. And he's saying, if you want to be good, do this, it will be there. He's asking us to remove desire. He's not asking us not to become, beautiful, handsome. He's not saying that. You practice Buddhism, you don't need to be handsome, don't need to be. He's not saying that. You can become the best of everything if you do this. That's what he's saying. Okay. So it's not just desire attachment. If you do this, this will be fruit. Right? So, where the hairs will stand outward, okay? Through your zest for knowledge, the arts and so forth, and through imparting them, you will have the calves of an antelope. So, if you are really intelligent, then read all this and then try to change your body at least. Look at the calves of an antelope. A sharp mind and great wisdom. If others seek your wealth and possessions through the discipline of immediate giving, you will have broad arms and pleasant appearance and will become a leader of the world. Through reconciling well friends who have become divided, you will become the best of those whose glorious secret organ retracts inside. Okay? Through giving good houses and nice comfortable carpets. I think you should all start giving those things to me. Right? Your color will be very soft, like refined stainless gold. Okay? But I can't promise it will be there in 2 weeks. Through giving the highest powers and following a teacher properly, you will be adorned by each and every hair and by a spiraling hair. So you don't have to use this machine, Spiraling hair between the eyebrows. Look at this. Through speech that is pleasant and pleasing, and by acting upon the good speech of others, you will have curving shoulders and a lion-like upper body. You don't have to go to a gym now. Through nursing and curing the sick, the area between your shoulders will be broad. You will live in a natural state, and all tests will be the best. It is said that for Buddha there is nothing which is called tasteless. Even the so-called, something which is of bad taste to them, good taste. There is nothing which is bad taste. Through initiating activities concordant with the practices, your crown protrusion will stand out well, and your body will be symmetrical like a banana tree. Some banana trees are crooked, I don't know. I'm joking. Through speaking true and soft words over a long time, O Lord of humanity, your tongue will be long and your voice that of Brahma. Through speaking true words always and continuously, you will have cheeks like a lion, be glorious and hard to overcome. Through showing great respect, serving others and doing what is fitting, your teeth will be very white, shining and even. So you don't have to buy those expensive toothpaste. Through using true and non-divisive speech over a long time, you will have 40 glorious teeth that are set evenly and are wondrous. How many teeth are there? 32, but he is going to get 40. Plus point. Bonus, you see?
Like how in Buddhism discussion and debate is encouraged, is it also possible to disagree with a master even if they're very great and he passed away?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why the Buddha said, it's the only Buddha in the whole universe, probably, who had the courage to say, O issues and wise learned men, just as the goldsmith judges the gold by cutting, rubbing and putting under the fire, similarly, well judge my words and accept them, not because of trust or belief. He said, ask all the questions. Ask all the questions. If you don't agree, you have every right to follow whatever you think is best. So that's why I read one article somewhere sometime back, which says, Buddha is the greatest scientist. The reason that he wrote in that article was because there are many great scientists have come, but it's only the Buddha who taught a path which will completely eradicate the root of ignorance, the root of suffering, ignorance. No scientist ever even approached to that side, you see. Right? So you can always ask questions, and especially now, Buddha forget is very special. I mean, as you said, the great teachers. Number one, who is the great teacher? That itself is caution, People say somebody is great. Nobody has any idea how this person is great, because people follow by the number, somebody having a big monastery and big seat and many followers, then everybody like, nice country. But he may be a devil. Forgive me to say that. I'm not saying everybody, there are people like that. I mean, how many in India, how many sadhus, so-called very famous sadhus are caught and now behind bars? Similarly, many Tibetan teachers in the West also, they had sex scandal, this scandal, that scandal. You know, so don't judge by the appearances. Appearance is deceptive. I mean, you do not have to hate anybody who has a big name. I mean, but judge. That's why when you listen to the Buddha's teaching, you should go and listen like somebody goes to listen to a lecture. Just by listening to some Buddhist teacher, you don't have to accept that person as your teacher. Don't ever do that. Because in the beginning, because of your aksar, you know, I don't know what I should use. You know, because you are new to this, you are very excited, and therefore you want to embrace Buddhism and be near a teacher. So, I received this teaching from him, he's my teacher. No, don't do this. Later on you will repent. Take time. Spend more time. Judge his character, judge his capacity to teach many things. In Tibetan text they say judge 12 years, which may be too long, but at least some time, you know, listen, ask other people also. Okay? Then if you feel that person is the right person, then accept that person as your teacher. Even after you have accepted somebody as a teacher, if later on you don't agree with many of these things, you have every right to say goodbye. This is important because many people say, if you had, accepted somebody as your teacher, especially in Tantra, then if you don't follow him, you go to Vajra hell. Who is that person who is going to send you in Vajra hell? This has a meaning in a special context. It's not like that, you know. You are not a pawn in the hand of some lamas, you know. Right? Very important to examine very carefully. Find the right teacher. And most important thing is where when you go is up to you, not with a particular teacher. So therefore, when people ask me to find a teacher, I myself got some people saying, Garland, can you be my teacher? I said, if you want me to be your teacher, bring a rope. Rasi level, rasi. Bring a rope and we tie our neck together. रस्सी लो हम दोनों साथ में गला साथ में बांध देते हैं फिर दोनों जाएंगे नाव में ठीक है ना I said this because I read one verse from Tsongkhapa where he says Kordan numar tsuwe cholam tin zeyang Jiji gyudu towe mugyo tan rowe Ranshin yige gize chashin tan dowe Zozung rei kore nasu di jowa. So which means this process of acting, one is a teacher, one is a student, acting as a teacher and student, looks beautiful. This behavior of acting, one is a teacher, one is a student, looks beautiful. The problem is when you live together, each of these two are finding each other's fault, digging each other's fault. So you're really in association with an unruly person. So how can you have happiness with that kind of association? And this will lead to the ruination of all the good things that you do and all the good things that the Lama do, whatever, It leads to mutual destruction. So then he said, alas, this way of living, which is really like being in a prison, guarded by the prisoners who are none other than your enemy.
Does that make sense? All the teachings say that the best way for you to achieve enlightenment is to have a teacher.
Right teacher,
so
yes.
Because this saying,
Good teacher.
you're going to end up hating each other and looking for each other's faults, so don't have a teacher.
Yes.
where's bodhicitta? Where's knowing someone could be in human form, but still, that doesn't make sense to me. Why are you always
Everything that we are saying doesn't have to make sense to you.
No, that's true.
So you follow your way. But with due respect, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't follow bodhicitta, I'm not saying all the teachers bad, but all I'm saying is be careful. It's not easy in any human relationship, be it the relationship with the husband and wife, be it with the relation with the teacher and the student, the father and mother, you know the story. I don't have to explain, It's a rough ride. So be careful, that's all I'm saying, because this spiritual relationship is much more important than ordinary relationship. Therefore you have to be careful. This quotation is again not from me, it is from, not from our story, it's from 7th Dalai Lama. 7th Dalai Lama. Right? So all I'm saying is, not saying that you don't have a teacher, all I'm saying is, check carefully. When in marriage also, you have to check carefully. When you buy a horse or a yacht, you have to check carefully. The great, scholar Sajid Pandita, he says, it's funny that even when people buy horses and yacht, they check very carefully. But when it comes to seeking a teacher, they don't even check. They immediately rush and say, oh, it's my teacher. So that's all I'm saying. Okay. Next is okay, 40 glorious teeth. Through viewing beings with love and without desire, hatred or delusion, your eyes will be bright and blue with eyelashes like a bull. So check all this carefully. And you don't have to wait until you become Buddha, Go and watch the eyelashes of a bull and try to come up with one.
Get contact. Blue contact.
Yeah, blue contact. Eyeballs, blue with eyelashes. Your eyes will be bright and blue. This is more like what? Easterner or Westerner? Norwegian, right. Thus, in brief, know well these 32 signs of a great line of beings together with their causes. The 80 beautiful features, then 80 minor signs. From a concordant cause of love, fearing this text would be too long, I will not, O King, explain the 80 minor signs. Okay? All universal emperors are regarded as having this, but their purity, beauty, and luster cannot match even a little those of a Buddha. So, what is he saying here is, so this verse, is talking about the differences of the major and minor signs of the Buddha and a universal monarch. So all universal monarchs and emperors are regarded as having this, the 32 signs and the 80 signs. But their purity, beauty and luster cannot match even a little to those of a Buddha. Differences in terms of cause. The auspicious signs and beautiful features of universal emperor are said to arise even from the single cause of faith in the king of subduers. But such virtue accumulated one-pointedly for 100 times 10 million eons cannot produce even one of the hair force of a Buddha. Just as the brilliance of the sun is slightly like that of a fireflies, so the signs of Buddha are slightly like those of a universal monarch, emperor. So this finishes the second chapter. We still have 3 chapters to go. Okay, some questions. You can ask questions that are more relevant to your life, rather than the hair is rising or not.
Hi, Geshe.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can tell us.
You want to change your eyelash or something?
No, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about you and your path to the Dharma.
Yeah, what?
About you and your path.
About me, oh my goodness. Honestly speaking, I consider myself a lucky person. I'm not intelligent, I'm not born in a rich family. Of course, we lost our country, came to exile. But when I look at my journey means not international journey, but journey that I had to take to changing circumstances, most of them turned out to be in my favor. So therefore I call myself a lucky person. And my name is Lhakdor. Lucky door, yeah. Really, I think if, I know how I went through what, all turned out to be good. I had since from childhood I had different options, options that I may have ended up going here, I may have ended up going here. Few times, 2 paths opening up. Then because of my teacher, and many teachers, different teachers, then little bit my own inclination, I mostly came in the right way. So that is my story. Right. For example, just to say, for example, when we came into exile, that boy, then I think around 13 students from our close families were to send to school. So my uncle took us. Then we came through Sopema, Dharamsala. So there is a small monastery there. My parents used to call me monk even when I was not a monk. I don't know. So my uncle wanted me to put me there in that Sopema temple. The others, 11 or 12, they will be sent to the school. Then I said, no, I don't want to stay here. With no other knowledge or understanding, because I will be away from these 12 other kids, Just because of that. Then now I think I did the right thing. With due respect to the monastery, if I had stayed there, the best that I could have become is maybe I'm doing some ritual, And then I may have already disrobed, I know the whole situation. So which did not happen. Then I went to school, able to study things. So my path had encountered such interesting situations. Then, I'm not going to tell you all the secrets, okay? Then when I entered the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, when I was studying there, when I finished my Karshin, which is 7 years of Buddhist studies, then 2-3 of my very close friends They were saying, now we have studied so much, but are we going to get a job with this Buddhist studies? Which is a genuine concern, So they want to do teacher training to New Delhi.
You were a monk. No, you were not a monk.
We were all monks in the Institute of Buddhist Studies. We were all monks. So they decided to go, and they asked me whether I would like to join. I said, yes, I would like to join. So they went to our teacher, and our teacher gave him the permission to go. But when I went to him, he just scolded me like anything. I could not go, see? Like that. My teacher scolded me like anything. I mean, this was not the worst scolding. I got one more bigger scolding when I had some other plan when I was much younger. So in this case, he said, you are going down to Delhi to do the so-called B.Ed. B.Ed, he doesn't know much, but improve your English or whatever and get that certificate. You know your own status, you already finished first year, and you are one of the best students in the class. If you leave the class, what kind of disturbance it will create to the rest of the classmates? Do you have any idea? You're only thinking about yourself. When you go there and study, the best you can do is you get some degree and your English may be improved. But people who speak English is like fishes, so many. Fishes, he said, he used the word. So many people speaking English. What is so special there about this? Now you already finished 7 years of study, your Dharma knowledge is good. Now on top of that, if you finish the Madhyamika, 3 more years, if you can't proceed further, it's okay. Just Parchin and Uma do this, finish. You can be a teacher. You can help many people. Something like that, Then I said, yes, sir. Like that, yeah, there are stories like that, yeah. Okay, any other?
Well, when you were little and you decided you didn't want to go and be a monk at that monastery, you wanted to go to school, when did you decide to become a monk then?
No, I just, no, she's very good. She's a spy, I think. This is an interesting question. When I decided to become a monk, I was in the school, And as I already told you, in Tibet, people really prefer anybody becoming a monk or nun, So my parents used to call me monk even when I was not monk. That was there. So when I was in the school, maybe 2nd or 3rd grade or something like that, I heard the news that my mother passed away. Yeah, my mother passed away. Then it occurred to me, okay, my mother used to call me a monk, now she passed away, I should become a monk. I don't know, 9-10 years, I don't know exactly. So that came in my mind. Plus, my teacher, who now lives in South India, he is 96 years old now. I recently went to see him. So he also encouraged me to become a monk, so this is how I become a monk. Yeah. Any other questions, please? About the eyelashes and hair and all those things,
So in Buddhism, we don't believe in a God as a creator, but there is many deities and gods which we don't speak about, and for me they seem like stable, like what is impermanent about them, and can you speak?
Oh, the gods, the so-called gods, normally in order to differentiate between the gods explained in Buddhism and the other gods, I always say that the Buddhist god is small g, not capital G. So here, gods means another form of sentient being in the samsara, in cycle of existence. There is no beyond it. As I briefly mentioned earlier, those beings in that quality realm, it is said that they are all like amazing, beautiful, handsome, no smell from the armpit, whatever, many good things, really. So everything looks perfect. But it is said that 7 days before their death or something like that. Yeah, 7 days before their death, they gave the omen that they are going to die. The omen is that it is said they all have flower garlands, then the flower garlands normally remain fresh, but when they are about to die, the flower garlands start fading. And then armpits start smelling, things like that. Then they see where they are going to die, they have like untoldable sufferings. So they are not very special in their sense.
And what about gods as a protectors and who people call to that they?
No, they are like spiritually a little bit advanced. You can consult them, They are spiritually more advanced beings who have better insight, which you don't have. So you can, like the oracles, you invoke them, and they may be able to tell you many things which you don't know. Okay.
But they are not living anymore. They are like ancestors or some like beings who are not in our realm, and they are not. We can understand it. We have to approach it through some.
You can't understand it unless you travel there. You can't understand it. If I don't travel to Africa, I don't understand how Africa looks like. Right?
So are they also impermanent?
Yes. They are impermanent, yes. Impermanence means not just death, but it's changing all the time. So the important thing for you to understand is, it is not only human beings, there are many other spirits or sentient beings. Animals we can see. Hungry ghosts we may not see, but hungry ghosts are there. Then we have the celestial beings. Then hell beings. Right? So there are so many different beings which it's not necessary that we are able to see all of them. But our not being able to see them doesn't mean they are not there. Okay. Yes.
I wanted to ask you about pride. It is considered a form of attachment.
Hmm?
Pride is a sort of attachment, yes? It is
Pride?
pride.
Yeah.
It is attachment, it is something.
No, pride is not pride. I don't know. It's not attachment. Might come because of some attachment, but itself is not attachment. Pride means actually the word may be like arrogance, arrogance. Sometimes they use the word conceit or arrogance. Pride.
So arrogance is like a negative term and pride is not in Buddhism?
Pride, there is a beautiful English saying, pride goeth before a fall. Pride goeth before a fall. That means if you remain arrogant, you will fall. Because if you are arrogant, you go like this. Okay, I manage. You don't look at where you are, placing your feet, and you trip and fall. Then your arrogance will come down. This is a small example. So arrogance is really like an inflated balloon. If the balloon is totally inflated, you can't put water on it. If you put water on it, it will slip, not stay there. Similarly, if you become arrogant, you will not observe humility. And because you don't observe humility, because you are inflated, you will never, or very difficult to learn from others. You will never bend. Right?
Good afternoon, Geshe. So in today's lecture, you mainly talked about how our body looks like, it seems like clean, but it is not.
Seems like what?
How our body seems like, it looks like from the outside it looks clean, but inside it's not.
Yeah.
So in our life, will we ever get that cleanliness, or like till death we will be like this, like we are not clean at all? Or it's like getting enlightenment can make us clean or something?
Yeah.
Getting enlightenment.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
in our like in conventional reality, if we not get enlightenment, then we are not clean. Is it?
Yeah, but the point that we are making is, by saying your body is not clean, etc., etc., we are not saying you are bad, you are useless, you are worthless. We are not saying that. We are simply saying, in fact, in the Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avtara, he says, it's very difficult to find this precious human life. Very difficult to find this precious human life. So when we say this precious human life, it means a life where you have this amazing intelligence and brain, this capacity to become Buddha. So the body itself may look like unclean and fragile, but you have this capacity. So therefore, there is every reason, because you have this big capacity, there is every reason you take very good care of your body. And the more you realize this uncleanliness or fragility, the more you should be able to take care. The food you eat, the lifestyle you adopt, everything will change. So don't worry about being not so clean, or something like that. At least outside you look clean, so it's good enough. Just who is going to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Misal Lindilani Javeku, you're from Ladakh? You speak Tibetan a little bit? So this is from Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avtara. Misal Lindilani Javeku, Rinchen Trengwa, Guruvena Chanjusam Kichavarabdi Song. That means, having adopted this impure body, having adopted this impure body, you have the capacity to transform this impure body into the body of the Buddha, which is priceless. Therefore, you should cultivate bodhicitta in this very impure, unclean body. If you cultivate this bodhicitta, this whole system will be transformed into that of the Buddha. Right? Therefore, always cherish bodhicitta. That is what Shantideva says in the beginning of his text. Yeah.
What is the difference between the term Nirvana and Sankhya-Subuddha, like Nirvana and enlightenment?
Nirvana and enlightenment. Nirvana, Buddha has achieved Nirvana. He has also achieved enlightenment. Then there may be people who have achieved just Nirvana, not enlightenment. So Nirvana means, generally speaking, Nirvana means you achieve Nirvana when you have removed all the negative emotions with the seeds. Okay? Then you stay there. There are many people who say, it's very important to look after the well-being of all sentient beings, but it is impossible for me to look after all sentient beings. So it is good enough that I just get liberated for myself. So they achieve liberation and stay there. Then there are others who say that even this achieving Nirvana just for yourself is a problem. Because you are thinking just about yourself. So therefore, we must endeavor to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then you endeavor and then not only remove afflictive emotions and the seeds, and also the imprints of those seeds. Sometimes they call it dualistic appearances. You remove everything. The obscuration to Nirvana, obscuration and enlightenment, both are removed, then you become Buddha. Okay? So, state of Buddhahood is much higher.
Geshe, I just wonder, like from my own experience, since I've been brought up in Ladakh, and there, I've seen that in, as you have mentioned, as Buddha has mentioned, even there's no gender specific, anyone can get enlightened,
Yes.
either woman or man,
Yes.
but as for my own experience, in my own household, we do this prayer for a long life.
Yeah.
Talk, like how do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. And I've seen that man, the guy of my own family was placed before me, and I just even asked out of curiosity to the guru also, the one who was doing the prayer, and he told me just it was that thing. There's this thing I don't remember. It was like, but it was placed in our chokam, and they said women can do it. I just asked our question, why not? But he said just it's just you can't do it. And even in some monastery we go there are some specific haka, you say, and there's written, and even some monks like tell us women can't enter. So if that's if that's also a practice like in Dhamma, so why differentiate in, like I've seen, I don't know if Buddha has mentioned it. I mean, I can clearly see that Buddha has mentioned that there's no difference between gender. And as a practice in Ladakh specifically, I've witnessed it many times. So how is that possible?
Very good question. I have to spend an hour for this one. So you need to think, number one, who invented religion? You and me, or our predecessors. They invented religion. Who invented God? People. So who invented all these discriminations? People. In ancient times, when there was not much scope for, mental education or education of anything, right? Then male played dominance because they can go out and fight and do this, kill animals, bring home, They're just their physical might. Because of this, they become more dominant in every culture, every society. Male chauvinism, right? Yeah, everywhere. There, of course. That's what I'm saying. So now gradually and then you can in the West also, how many years it took with women's getting their, even the right to vote.
And it's being taken away, so.
Yeah, and still that dominance is their physical might, unfortunately. Right? Number one. So all those discriminations are not necessarily based on Buddha's teaching. Right? Because the very concept of seeing women as inferior or dirty or pure, you read this text, it concludes by saying, if you're not able to see this fault with yourself, how can you see this with others? We are all same, that is what he's saying. Then when we talk about achieving enlightenment is achieved by human mind. Mind is neither male nor female. And not only that, like look at this particular meeting, do we have more male or more women? 60% women definitely here. Because they have more feeling towards love, feeling towards compassion. Everybody has this capacity to be the mother, you see. So they are actually more towards spiritual practices. Now if you look at the war and the killing, the armies, who is more, men or women? Men. Army generals. Like in China, look at the leaders, they're all men, not a single woman. I didn't see a single woman in the Politburo. Right? So still that kind of dominance is there. But that should change. That should change. And that should change not through fighting or something like that, but His Holiness, for example, saw these lapses, and His Holiness said, to the Tibetan women. Number one, he gave special place for the women to become ministers. Special place for them, one or two of them, in the beginning. Now, of course, this is through election. So that was there. In the parliament also we have a lot of women. So His Holiness said, from our government side, we will never make any discrimination between men and women. But if you see, still if you see there are not many opportunities that there are something like that, or discriminations are being made, then let me know. And because of this, like Geshe Ma, earlier we had only Geshe, no Geshe Ma for women. Then he started this some years back. Why we make this discrimination in terms of study? Everybody can become Geshe, just as men, boys can become Geshe. Why can't women can become Geshe Ma? Now we have, believe me, as Donald Trump says, believe me. Okay, believe me. Believe me, we have like already, I don't know, 30, 40 Geshe Mas, and another 30 something are in line becoming Geshe Mas. So there's the way. So it's changed. So many discriminations are stupid. Like in Ladakh also, I remember so-called low caste to beat the drum. Do you think they are low caste? You don't think? I remember very clearly when His Holiness visited them, these people, they call it low caste, but they always have to be there on the ceremony beating the drum, you know. So one of the first things that His Holiness did was he went straight to these people, sat among them and started beating the drum. And he said, okay, now I'm from low caste, don't come close to me. I mean, these are stupid discriminations. And then, you know, human mind is narrow, small. So we are very fond of dividing, we are very fond of discrimination. We don't have that larger capacity to see the bigger picture. So we are very good in making discrimination. Man, woman, black, white, long nose, short nose, whatever, you know. So that's it. So if somebody says you can't go, don't go, no problem. It happened in India. One mandir where women are forbidden to go, then they boycotted many of them, like their slogans, I can see them later on. I think they had to open it or something like that. Well, where is it? Some South India, somewhere. Yeah. So if they don't let go, don't go. Then there will be an embarrassing situation for the people, you know. Huh? Somewhere there, yeah.
So, Geshe, is it like completely okay to enter such temples? Because we've been told that the deity will get...
No, actually, you know, I'm telling you, if they said can't enter, don't go. Why do you have to go there? And human mind is so stupid. If people say don't come, they have to go there. If I'm in place of you, if they say don't come, okay, I have no respect for this temple, I'm not going to come here. So what? Pandan Lama, you can give it in your house also.
Then why
Real Pandan Lama is nowhere, even in the place. Now I'm a little bit going towards blasphemy, okay? I have something very important to say, but I'm not going to say this. I'll get into trouble. So the Pandan Lama, they say you can't go. Is it the real Pandan Lama? It's a statue made from the market. Don't be stupid.
Then why are we visiting monasteries as well, if this is the case?
Huh?
If this is the scenario and case, then why are we visiting monasteries?
I never said don't visit monasteries. I only said if people are saying don't come, you don't have to go. Because you have many other Pandan Lama statues in other temples, you know. And you can also make one in your own room.
So the main concern is even if we enter such temples, the deity is not going to get disappointed in us, right? Because we've been told that the deity won't be...
If that is that is the case, then I will even go against Pandit Namo, because she is a woman. If a woman really says, you can't come closer to me, that's the worst scenario, right? So I'm a little bit like, my mind is a little bit revolutionary, so I don't pay too much attention to many of these things. I mean, take the example of Milarepa, real practitioner. Did he possess so many statues? Have you heard about this? I think greatest saint in Tibet, Milarepa. Read his biography and 100,000 songs, He used to run away from people, living naked in mountains. And then in his meditation room, a meditation room is no room, cave, there's nothing. So one night a thief came, groping in the night, hoping to get something. Milarepa was there in his meditation. He laughed and said, "What do you hope to get in this broad darkness when I don't get anything in the broad daylight?" So he's nothing. So he's saying that in the broad daylight I don't have anything. So what are you hoping to get in this pitch darkness? So he's nothing. But he has the Buddha in his mind. He has Marpa in his mind. So it has to be, at the end of the day, it has to be, your temple has to be in your mind. I mean, as a conventional practice, you go with other people, go to temple, you feel good, that's okay. I'm not saying don't go. Otherwise people will treat you as a lunatic. Okay? But it's not a must. It's not a must. You don't have to rush where everybody is rushing. That's why we already read, use your wisdom. Don't follow certain prevailing customs without any reason.
How many monks are there compared to nuns? There's more monks, are there, than nuns?
Definitely more monks.
Yeah, do you know, like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1?
I have no idea. I never counted. So let us say 2 to 3 maybe. You can come up with a project on this. Actually, our Department of Religion, I think they have the numbers.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Since we were discussing the sense, right? Today we were discussing the sense. Out of which, lust, hunting, or eating non-veg, gambling, and intoxicants, which one will you consider a greater or a more harmful sin?
Killing.
Killing.
Yeah.
Anyone?
There was someone. Yeah.
So Buddhism says that we should not desire sexual desires. But when I go into a Tibetan Buddhist monastery in Ladakh, for example, I've been to many, and they're painting from the walls. It's quite obvious. And why would they paint something like that on the walls, which puts that desire on the throne?
So as I mentioned earlier, in Buddhism, having male-female relationship is not discouraged. It's never said this is bad. Never says don't marry. Because it's common sense. If you say don't marry, then there will be no children. The whole humanity will come to an end. Then how can Buddhism survive, But what they are objecting is sexual misconduct, adultery. Like cheating husband, cheating wife, going with the other people. This brings a lot of problem even in the ordinary society. So that is discouraged. Now the pictures that you see on the walls, this is a tantric imagery, which is not necessarily saying have sex, we're not saying like that. But it is symbolic. It is really talking about producing the experience of bliss. Normally some kind of feeling of bliss happens in union with the men and women, right? So when you, through this kind of union, when you produce this bliss, then if you're a good tantric practitioner, you don't let emission. You just use that bliss. Your mind becomes very blissful, and then that when mind is blissful, it is also concentrated and calm. That concentrated, calm, blissful mind is used to penetrate into the understanding of emptiness. That is the purpose. So it's not like encouraging sex or especially adultery, Yeah.
Geshe Lhakdor, my question is, does our dreams really have a connection with reality? Because people used to say that if you saw yourself drowning in water or like maybe hunting by wild animals in your dreams, and they say that you didn't pay much respect in prayer room or chotkam. So does it really have a connection with reality sometimes?
Dreams are normally treated as the examples of not being trustworthy. It's like dream, don't pay much attention kind of thing. So don't pay too much attention to the dreams. Dreams normally occur because of certain physical situations, certain mental, states. Shall I give you some of the dreams and the connections that they have with real life? Once I had a dream. I was really running away. I had a gun in my hand. And at the foot of a mountain, it was really full of sleds. So I was able to see hundreds and thousands of Chinese army with their uniform coming from above, from the mountain. I was a little bit down, so with this gun I'm running away. While I'm running away, one Chinese army shot the gun and it was hit here, blood coming out. So I was really moving like this. And I can hear the sleds, going down, sound of sleds going down. So because I was so frightened, I woke up. Now what was the reality, Something, lump or something was here. It was not even, it was pushing against. So my bed was not even. You see? That's it, So dreams are really great, true storytellers, liars, With small things, they fabricate and make it big. Okay? And one of the dream analysis written by a great teacher, he says, for example, you are sleeping, you might get a dream that you are born into the cold hell. You get frightened. When you wake up, you realize that your kambal has slipped out and you're feeling cold, All those things. So there's some relation to the body, but in the college of teaching it says, normally dreams are not reliable. If you get a good dream, don't pay too much attention. If you get bad dream, don't pay too much attention. But the dreams that you get at the dawn, just before wake up, this can be sometimes trusted, sometimes counted. Because the earlier part of your sleep, the dreams, I think the dreams you get is primarily what you've been doing in the day. Then the middle part, I'm not so sure which one is what. In the middle part of the night, the dreams that you get might be, I don't know why I'm confused. Anyway, so some are related to what you've been doing in the day, some are related to past lives. And then around the dawn, then when you're fatigued from the work and everything gone, you got some sleep, then mind is more clear. Then whatever appears in the dream can be taken notice. But still, don't get too excited, don't get too discouraged. Okay?